As 2025 unfolds, Harry and Meghan are stepping forward like nothing ever went wrong. Same confidence, same posture, same expectation that the world will stop, listen, and applaud. But something feels different now. Because behind the carefully framed photos, the curated appearances, and the recycled talking points, the shine has finally started to crack. Not quietly, not subtly, publicly. And once that crack appeared, it became impossible to ignore what had really been building for years. The palace didn't need insider leaks or crystal balls to predict this moment. It was pattern recognition. And that pattern has now played out in full view. For a long time, Harry and Meghan were operating on one powerful assumption: that their names alone could sustain momentum, that attention could be converted into loyalty, that branding could substitute for substance, that sympathy could be monetized indefinitely. 2025 has exposed the flaw in that thinking because attention fades, sympathy expires, and branding collapses when it's not backed by real demand. And nowhere is that more visible than in the growing scrutiny surrounding Meghan's lifestyle venture, American Riviera Orchard. When it was announced, the hype machine kicked into overdrive. The language was carefully chosen: exclusive, curated, premium, limited. The implication was clear. This wasn't just another celebrity brand. This was refinement, taste, aspiration. But according to recent media reporting, online analysis, and commentary that's been circulating for months, the reality appears far less glamorous. Critics point to discussions suggesting that the brand may be sitting on a massive amount of unsold inventory. Figures as high as $21 million have been mentioned across public forums and media coverage. Whether the precise number is exact or not, the core issue is hard to deny. Products were produced at scale without proven demand. That's a dangerous gamble in any business. Even more so in a market already flooded with celebrity lifestyle brands. Jars of premium jam, bottles of specialty oil, tea blends, biscuits, wine. Everything carefully packaged, beautifully labelled and, according to observers, largely unmoving. At the current pace, analysts suggest it could take years to clear that inventory. Some estimates stretch far longer. And inventory that doesn't move doesn't just sit there harmlessly. It ties up capital. It drains cash flow. It becomes a daily reminder of miscalculation. That's not a launch problem. That's a strategy problem. And this is exactly the kind of scenario royal advisors were rumoured to fear from the very beginning. The palace understood something that branding teams often forget. Prestige doesn't automatically convert into purchases. Titles may open doors, but they don't guarantee loyalty. Especially not in a market where consumers are increasingly skeptical of celebrity ventures that feel disconnected from their actual lives. And American Riviera Orchard isn't an isolated case. It fits into a broader post-royal pattern. Since stepping away from royal duties, Harry and Meghan positioned themselves as builders, storytellers, changemakers, entrepreneurs. But critics argue that what followed looked less like construction and more like constant reinvention. Podcasts launched with fanfare and quietly abandoned. Projects announced before foundations were laid. Ideas scaled before demand was tested. Everything was big. Everything was bold. Everything was rushed. And when execution matters most, cracks started to show. Online, buyers began sharing videos criticizing luxury candles associated with Meghan's wider brand circle. Some reportedly arrived without wicks, the one component that makes a candle functional. Whether these issues stem from suppliers, quality control, or oversight, the symbolism was hard to miss. Beautiful exterior, broken core. To critics, it became a metaphor for the entire operation. Heavy emphasis on aesthetic, light attention to fundamentals, all branding, no burn. And when products don't perform, pressure travels upward. That's when staffing issues become impossible to hide. Public reports and industry chatter have highlighted unusually high turnover across Harry and Meghan's teams. PR professionals cycling in and out, senior advisors departing, entire roles disappearing. Compiled timelines shared by royal commentators suggest nearly 30 staff members have exited since 2020, with a noticeable acceleration in recent months. High turnover is rarely accidental. It often signals internal instability, financial strain, leadership challenges, or all three at once. Talented professionals don't walk away from stable, well-run organizations en masse. They leave when warning signs pile up and confidence erodes. And that brings us to the charity arm, the part of the brand that was meant to anchor everything morally. Earlier this year, Archewell quietly rebranded from Archewell Foundation to Archewell Philanthropies. Officially, the shift was framed as growth, expansion, evolution, a broader global vision carried forward as a family. But critics immediately questioned the timing. Public IRS filings from previous years show rising operational expenses alongside relatively modest grant distributions. To be clear, these figures are public, and interpretations vary, but non-profit watchdog standards are widely understood. Most reputable charities aim to direct the majority of funds toward programs, not administration. Observers argue Archewell's ratios raised legitimate questions, especially as donor enthusiasm appeared to decline. Rebranding doesn't change numbers, it just changes the label on the folder. Some also questioned the decision to foreground Archie and Lilibet in the announcement. Supporters saw warmth and family values. Skeptics saw something else entirely, a familiar tactic that complicates criticism by emotionally charging it. Once children are in the frame, scrutiny becomes harder. Pushback risks being reframed as cruelty. It's not new, it's strategic. And critics say it's increasingly transparent. The optics may soften reactions, but they don't restore donor confidence. And donors, unlike audiences, vote with their wallets. Even the couple's own year-end highlight video raised eyebrows. Marketed as a celebration of 2025's achievements, much of the footage dated back several years. Awards from 2021 and 2022, appearances recycled, moments repackaged to simulate momentum. Recent content was thin, carefully staged trips, vague initiatives, photo ops framed as diplomacy. For supporters, it may have felt nostalgic. For skeptics, it looked like an attempt to stretch relevance by replaying the past. That's not growth. That's maintenance mode. Now contrast all of this with what's happening elsewhere. No rebrands, no merchandise, no monetized vulnerability. Catherine's Christmas message was quiet, intimate, human. A piano, a child beside her. Words about connection, generosity, and resilience. No ask, no branding, no call to action. William continues his role with steady discipline. Less noise, more consistency. The monarchy Harry and Meghan criticised didn't implode. It adapted. It stabilised. And in doing so, it highlighted the difference between institutional responsibility and personal branding. That contrast has become impossible to ignore. While Harry and Meghan auction experiences and leverage residual titles, the institution they left continues without spectacle and without desperation. Public sentiment reflects that shift. Polls remain harsh, commentary relentless. Online culture has moved from outrage to mockery, and mockery is the final stage. Once credibility turns into memes, recovery becomes almost impossible. The spell has broken. And when that happens, clarity replaces emotion. Big picture? They had everything. A global platform, unmatched sympathy, worldwide attention. And instead of converting it into long-term credibility, critics argue it was spent chasing validation, chasing control, chasing the illusion that attention equals loyalty. The palace didn't need to sabotage anything. It simply stepped back and let reality do what it always does. Ego-driven ventures collapse under pressure. Brands without substance hollow out, and markets eventually correct illusions. So here we are in 2025. Unsold inventory, shrinking teams, questioned charities, fading influence. Not cruelty, clarity. If this opened your eyes, hit like, drop a comment. Did the palace predict this, or was it obvious from day one? UK and Australia crew especially, if you're done with the spin, subscribe and hit the bell. We're pushing toward 300k fast. Share it with mates across the pond or down under. Next one soon.